stop the misuse of funds and donations. So our purpose here is just quite simple. Our purpose is to offer advice to make sure that the money that is raised correctly and spent the right way. So we've made ourselves available to Councilman Cummins and some other organizations. It's still a work in progress, but we're providing them advice along the way to make sure that this is done properly. And I believe Brian's going to talk about the encouragement.
Thank you, Brian. For those who have not heard, we want to thank the media for assisting us in getting the word out. We felt it was important, as this tragic event and this glorious aspect of these women being alive and being with us today, we felt it was important to very quickly establish a fund for the victims and their families. Actually, the fund for Gina DeJesus, Michelle Knight, and Amanda Berry. We're not going to be calling them victims right now because we're looking forward. And this fund is about looking forward and assisting them rebuilding their lives. So we've named the fund the Cleveland Courage Fund in their honor. The fund was established through my office along with my colleagues, Matt Zone, who has a close relationship with the DeJesus family, as well as my colleague, Councilwoman Donna Brady, who has a relationship as well with Amanda Berry's family. So they have been with them these long years in vigils, in providing assistance to them as they can through Cleveland City Council. So we came together shortly after the event broke, knowing that there would be tremendous need for services and assistance for these young ladies and the child. And what we did is we reached out, as Randy said originally, and began talking to people that had experience in events and activities and setting up funds for people who have been affected in events in Chardon, in Sandy Brook, in Boston, and other locations. This does not happen very often where we have such an event and such a need to assist people. So we also worked in concert with KeyBank, WKYC Cleveland, and ultimately we got some great assistance in addition to the Attorney General's office from the Cleveland Foundation. So, just in brief, all donations made to this fund will go to a nonprofit organization which will disperse 100% of the funds to benefit the survivors and their families. These funds will be used for a broad range of services, and I'm going to give some examples because people wanted to know what are the funds going to be used for. We are trying to maintain a mission for this fund, a very broad mission. So to be specific, this fund, of course, could be used, but not limited, to food, clothing, mental and physical health and services, education, transportation, utility bills, travel, a wide range of activities to provide assistance and support to the women, the child, and the families. Under the IRS rules, as Brian was explaining, some of the legal issues, when the funds are donated directly to individuals, the recipients must pay taxes on that money. We felt it was important to provide the services that we will be receiving through the Cleveland Foundation so that if funds are donated to the Cleveland Courage Foundation, and we'll give you the address through the Cleveland Foundation, that those funds and donations will be tax exempt. It's very important to understand. And the tax liability is removed from the families, so they'll receive the services through a nonprofit taking care of their needs and assistance, and there will be no tax impact on the families, and there will be a tax benefit to the donors. The Cleveland Foundation will not assess any fees on this fund. So all monies raised will go to help survivors and their families. Donors can give, and it's in the, we'll have handouts at the back. Donors can give online to the clevelandfoundation.org/courage. And when you go on the site and you hit the donate button, you'll actually get a list of funds, and you can find and check the Cleveland Courage Fund. And I'm not going to give you the address, it'll be on the paperwork. In addition to the Cleveland Foundation Fund, we obviously wanted to make it easy for able to make donations without having to mail, without having to go online. So in partnership with Key Bank, we are working, and we have the Cleveland Courage Fund at Key Bank, in which donations can be made at any branch, and I believe there's almost 900 nationwide. At any branch, check, cash, through normal retail hours. It's important to understand, and if you have questions, if anyone has questions, we will answer them after the meeting, that the Key Bank Cleveland Courage Fund is a separate fund, and it is not affiliated with the Cleveland Foundation. This fund, too, will benefit survivors and their families through a nonprofit organization, most likely the same nonprofit organization. And just briefly about that, and I don't want to get into the legal details, both of these funds will work in concert to provide monies for services that we that have set this up will work in name and advisory committee, probably a fairly small advisory committee, but very representation of the needs and the knowledge and understanding of the needs of these young women and families. And those advisors will make the decisions and deal directly with the women and the families. So I want to thank everyone for assisting us in that aspect. We did hear briefly this afternoon, we did get the full reports, but we know that there was a minimum of $20,000 donated already to the Cleveland Foundation, as well as several thousand through Key Bank. And the fund was only established yesterday. So let's give everybody a round of applause that donated so far. We will have future updates. We will try to be timely on that. We are meeting with the Cleveland Diocese tomorrow, and we anticipate being able to announce the primary organization, which most likely will be a church, that will handle the 501c3 duties for making the payments and for services and activities to benefit the communities. So that is it for the Cleveland Courage Fund, and we're really happy that we were able to establish this so quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Well, we're very grateful to have with us this evening Deputy Chief of Field Operations of the Cleveland Police Department, Calvin Williams, and Commander Keith Spother of the 2nd District of the Cleveland Police Department. So we turn the mic over to them to provide some initial statements, and then you'll have a chance to ask some questions. Thank you.
Good evening. On behalf of Chief Michael McGrath of the Men and Women of the Cleveland Division of Police, we would like to join the community in expressing our sheer joy in what we witnessed this week. The return of those 3 young ladies to our community, I think we can all agree, is nothing short of a miracle. Commander Sells or myself will be here to answer questions, keeping in mind that we are at the very early stages of a critical investigation, and there are certain things that we can't talk about. So just keep that in mind. And with that, I'll introduce Commander Sullivan.
I just want to give you a couple personal perspectives here from me. I was a lieutenant in the 1st District in 2002 when these girls came missing. When Gina and Amanda were missing, they were both juveniles, which kind of ups the ante for us. I was in charge at that time of searching with my group of officers and with volunteers. And we searched for months, from the Cuyahoga River all the way to the western border of the 1st District, from the lake all the way to Brook Park Road. And me and my guys searched every vacant lot, every vacant building, anywhere that we could legally go in and search. We did an extensive job. We marked every street, we marked every address. And personally, I had one recurring nightmare in my life, and that was that they would find these girls somewhere where I searched. I'm hoping that that nightmare ends this week. For me, when I got the call, I was like everyone else in disbelief. And I jumped in my car and I raced up here and I told them to not let them leave that ambulance so I could, because I wanted to see for myself. And it was quite a miraculous event. Go to now, where that miraculous event, that elation, is kind of, it's turned, and I see it in your faces. What should be a happy, smiling event seems to have a little shadow over it, and that's a shame. This was a miracle. I can tell you, I personally busted my butt to find those girls, and I can tell you, the officers that are still in this department that searched for them and handled this case, that did it with passion and compassion for these girls and these families. And I'm one of the guys that marched with their parents. I've been at the vigils. I've been next to them at the Walk for Salvation and the National Night Out Against Crime. And I'm the guy that always said, you're right, there is hope. As much as I got a little bit of it, they got a lot. And I have to say, I am absolutely amazed, and they are an inspiration to De Jesus and the Berry family, that they had this much hope and this much confidence that their daughters would come home alive. So thank you very much, and please put some smiles on some faces out there. All right.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Williams and Commander Keith Sulzer. We would now like to take the next 20 to 25 minutes for questions and answers. And so this is an opportunity. What we're going to ask you to please do is to form a line over here on this side and then come to the mic. And then we have the opportunity to have different individuals answer those questions based on their expertise. So, and I'll be keeping track of the time. Each question, if we could limit the understanding, make a question rather a statement than a statement. And understand that several people want to ask questions, so we have to move it along. Thank you very much. And first question, please. Please tell us your name and then state your question. Thank you.
My name is Marcia, and I'm so grateful, and I know God brought this home. But my issue is, I have a sister that's missing, and it seems like the second district doesn't care. She does drugs. She was doing drugs, but when she was first when she did disappear, she had started going to church and keeping drugs off. But still, I'm not getting any help for our sister that's missing. None. The detective don't even call. The detective told me, oh, she's a crackhead just like my ex-wife. His ex-wife is not in the system. And I don't care what she does, she still has family. And the family is the first ones that know that they're missing. So we need to stop, brushing people off. When families come to the police, they want your help, not to brush them off. These families know when something's wrong with them and loved them. They know, just like we know. We don't get no help. This is the only type of help we'll be able to get if I'm glad that they were found alive. But what if somebody was found dead? They give you some help. We need help before this stuff happens.
Can I summarize your question? The question is, there's a level of frustration sometimes, feeling that you make a request of the department and you don't get sufficient response. So we're in anger. Okay. So is there any answer that we'd like to make to that?
Well, Commander Sulzer is going to really come up and speak directly to your question, ma'am. But what I want to do real quick is give you an example of some of the things that the Division of Police does on a regular basis concerning missing persons. I have a report here, and I won't say the name, but this is the person that, thank you. This is a person that's been missing since May of 2010. And since Chief McGrath was sworn in 2005, he instituted a new system that allows the division to track missing persons and how we search for missing persons, and also how often we check leads, home, job, school for those missing persons. And for instance, this person, again, missing since May of 2010, the last check we did was April 2nd of 2013. And in between, there are approximately another 15 checks that we did for this person. On a regular basis, our officers are sent out to search for missing persons. We don't give up on your loved ones. And again, I'll have Commander Salzer address specifically, if you'll give him the name of your loved one, and he can look on our list and see, and he can also generate your report like this. We try to do as much as possible. We reach out to the community for information on missing persons, and our officers are out there, as Commander Soldier stated earlier, day and night trying to find our missing persons. And just one more note, on average, since 2006, the Division of Police will receive approximately 26 to 2,800 missing persons per year. And on average, we find 99% of those people that are missing. Every year we end up with maybe 1 or 2 people that are still missing, maybe 3 or 4 months into that next year. So our officers in the community, because we get a lot of tips from you guys, do a phenomenal job on giving us tips. And our guys go out and track them down, and we try to find each and every missing person that's on our list. I'll turn this over to Commander Soldier.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask you then to go back and talk to Lieutenant Bolin in the back here and give your daughter's name or your sister's name. And I will call you back and give you a phone number, okay? But this is for everyone here, and I'm glad you asked the question and brought this up, because you have to know, if you have a problem with a missing person, whether you live in the 2nd District, 1st District, or 5th District, you have to call the commander if you have a problem, okay? My number is 623-5205. Okay, and if somebody's not doing what they're supposed to do, you call me. Okay. Well, okay, we have it now. 623-5205. Lieutenant Bull will give it to you. He'll get your number and he'll get your sister's name, and we will follow up on it. But, and this is for everyone here, when you have a missing person, you need to be diligent and you need to get on us if we're not doing what you think we should be doing. Okay? And the one thing about the Houston Berry family, they were on us at all times. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? They were giving us tips. There's 2,900 missing persons a year. I don't have that many officers that I can follow up one person, and I would love to. If I had them, I would gladly do it, but I don't. So I have a liaison, and I have one detective that handles all my missing persons. Right now, I have 21 missing persons still active in my district. Okay, so that one detective has to handle all 21 cases. So they're overburdened a little bit, but he's handling it, he does a good job, and monthly we go into checks. Now, if you as a reporting person have moved and we don't know you moved, or you're not the reporting person, then that causes a problem. So that's why we have to update all the time our database, and you have to update us on where you go, who's the person responsible for talking to. So if you talk to Lieutenant Bowman, give him all your information. I promise you tomorrow I'll call you back. Okay, I will. You can hold me word for it. 623-5205, and make sure always call the commander of the district if you have a problem. If they don't get to the bottom of it, they'll go to this man right here, and he will. All right, thanks.
Hey, my name is Frank Harris. I live in this neighborhood. I just want to say one thing. If you see something, say something, let somebody know what's going on. Because we got to protect all these women, children, and men out here. That's all I want to say. And I thank y'all very much.
My name is Cynthia Connor, and I don't have a question. I want to say thank you. I don't see a lot of people. I've been here 38 years. I don't know a lot of recognized my faces, but thank you guys for coming out and reaching out to us. I knew Ariel, I learned to know the girl, just like we did, seeing her all the time. Just thank you guys and keep us in prayer.
100 paces from this meeting right now. And every day I watch 14-year-olds on down to probably 6-year-olds play at 2 schools or within less than a mile of this crime scene. My question is, what are we doing to protect them? Because on these same streets, there are lights that are out, there are abandoned buildings. One is next door to me. I permitted a crime of trespassing to make sure that abandoned building, which is not boarded up, that no one is in there. So what are you doing to protect our children and secure these abandoned buildings that are in this neighborhood? My question is, all right. Again, if you have abandoned building problems, number 1, call building housing. Number 2, call my number, 63505. Okay? That's a building and housing issue, but I take that personally, and I know that building and housing issues become bigger issues later. Abandoned houses become bigger issues later. I will get somebody to board up that house. I'll have an officer go check the house or the building, make sure it's vacant, and then they'll call me and tell me what needs to be boarded up. Okay? We wear a lot of hats in the 2nd District, and we'll do whatever we have to do. Again, 635-205. If you don't get a hold of me, you can leave a message for me to call you. I don't leave without calling somebody back.
What about the school, the area parts of school? I don't know if the parents are taking their time to solve the yard. I've talked at this school where the parks, people free to ride.
Well, I'm not going to comment on cameras because obviously I'd love to see cameras, more cameras. The city doesn't have the funding for it. I know Tremont is working on a camera system and they're going to have to pitch some money in. They're looking at doing something like that, which would be phenomenal for us. But that's not the end of it. I know Councilman Cummins is going to work right now with CEI and CPP to make sure that the lights are up. And we'll work on this together. But as far as the children in schools, school board has police. If you have an issue with the schools and you want to call me and say, hey, this is the problem, we have kids doing this or that, or going into abandoned buildings, call me. And like I said, I will address those issues.
Just a quick comment on the same piece. On the agenda, there's actually an agenda item after this called Community and Crime Prevention Efforts. We will be discussing some of this at that time as well.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kelly Hooper. I stay on Brewer Avenue. I just like to give Jesus praise right now for bringing those 3 young ladies home because only through him were they found. I'd like to thank Mr. Ramsey for being courageous and bold enough to take the chance to go in there and risk his own life to provide the victory for those girls to come home. Also, as a parent of 6 children, 3 that are in elementary school, I know the rules and regulations of how my children should be watched and the different signs that I need to look for. But are there more signs and more more ways to be a little bit more careful? Because I have walking students that attend Louis Munoz School, and because they're walkers, I am concerned about somebody might snatching them up or attacking them or telling them different things that they may come to believe, like, you know, your mom said it's okay, or your dad or your sister said to pick you up. Are there ways that we can keep our kids, our young adults, men and women, safe so that this type of atrocity doesn't happen again in this neighborhood or any other neighborhood?
To summarize your question, then you want to know if there's some techniques to teach your children that would help them keep them safer from predators. Is that right?
Okay, all I put to me. I wanted to answer that. These are some of the things that we know. Predators are very good at manipulating and at hiding who they are. when you're teaching your children how to remain safe, and that is, do not tell them to be afraid of strangers, because he wasn't a stranger to this neighborhood, right? And the teachers and the coaches or whoever has targeted a child may not look like a stranger to a child. So the first thing I would tell you is to teach your children that they are responsible for their safety, because you can't always be there. Use their voice, scream, to yell, to stay together, to teach each other symbols and signs. If I do this, I'm in trouble, get help. As a community, you are the best people to keep each other safe. Law enforcement's limited, the Attorney General's office is limited. We can't be everywhere, but this is your home, and this is your family, and this is your community. So you can work together on these issues to keep these kids safe. Open communication is something you can always talk to your children about. There are the Child and Advocacy Centers here in Cleveland, and we do have a list of resources. I can tell you there are probably plenty of people there who can give you more hints. There are people there who can probably come to the schools or throughout our community on those resource guides that can come to the schools and talk to you. But nothing takes the place of your family, your parents, your grandparents, your co-parents. All of this and the community will keep you safer than any one of us up here with a loaded gun can do.
What are they talking about up there? I can't hear them. And I got this in front of me.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Let's do the community. Right. And another little tip you might want to teach your children is a code word that only you and your child know. And you can change that periodically. And you can say to them, unless this person knows this code word, that is not a person I asked to come and get you. That's another simple little way you can do that. But just keep in mind that, your law enforcement are here to protect you, protect and serve, and I can assure you that they're doing the best they can. No one knew what was going on down there. But your best way of support and safety is each other. And I'm sure law enforcement can come and provide training or whatever else you need. But teach your kids some code words and talk about it. Thank you.
Right. We have only a few minutes left for Q&A, so we're going to cut off the end of the line for the last person here. So if you would ask your question quickly so we can move it along.
I'm going to make this quick. I kept the crime watch in my neighborhood over by 2nd District by Commander Salzer. Commander Salzer, Brian Cummins, and Joanne Ham are very familiar with my 1,000 emails a day, phone calls a day. Okay? My question is, I want Brian Cummins and Commander Salzer to come up here and talk to you and tell you what you as a community, and we have discussed in meeting after meeting after meeting, what you can do to protect yourself, protect your children, and how to do it. It's simple. It's called getting outside, leaving lights on, being aware, and constant badgering Councilman Joanna Ham, Commander Salzer, and anybody else I can get a hold of, because I don't stop. And you know what? I get answers. So Brian Cummins, Commander, please come up and answer that question of what to do.
Well, I personally know the wrath of David Wolf, and I can tell you, if you don't answer his emails, he sends you 20 more. So I learned real early, you email him back and you solve what he's got a problem. And no, he's true. You have to be diligent. Just like I said about the missing person, you have to be diligent and you have to call the police and you have to demand answers. And if you keep doing it, you'll get it. David's block club is a very strong block club, and I recommend all of you, get a block club together, have a meeting, call me if you're in the 2nd District. I will visit your meeting, so will the councilman. I'll go into a little bit of crime prevention. So the 2nd District, we offer free safety audits. We'll come to your home. I'll send a police officer there, or I'll come myself. We'll tell you all the different things you should change in your home. Your locks, your windows, whatever you need. The free safety audit will come, we'll meet you, it'll take about 20 minutes. You can take our suggestions or not, but my guys know how people break in houses, you know all the ins and outs of crime. We go to schools, we talk to kids. Actually, Tuesday morning, the teacher called me on Monday saying, I'm sure you're not going to come. But Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., I was talking to about 34-4-year-olds at Urban Catholic and telling them about crime safety, and I spoke specifically about this incident. This was not an incident of somebody snatching people off the streets. This was an incident of a person asking someone for a ride, they wanted a ride, and they got into the car. That's where it came. It wasn't a snatch off the street, it wasn't a violent act, it was you need a ride, and the person got in the car. And that's something we got to teach our kids, just like what was just said. Just because you know somebody and they're not a stranger doesn't mean the kid's not going to get in the car. Okay, so we have to talk to our kids. We got to talk to our kids about these kind of incidents. I'm a good policeman, but I was a better parent, and I was into my kid's business. And that's what we all have to do. You have to be in your kid's business. You got to be looking at their Facebook pages. You got to discuss incidents like this and teach them how to become good adults. That's it.
We're going to take a segue to talk about crime prevention. We haven't forgotten about individual design. You're the last one to remember, so thank you.
I guess you notice your agenda, we just segued into the crime prevention community issues. So, I want to mention, first of all, anyone who may be on a community, civic group, or organization's board, a block club's membership or leadership, I want you to just raise your hand. I want to see a show of hands. People who are involved in their block clubs, members of their civic groups, or development corporations boards. So there's a good show of hands here. And this is really the backbone of community safety and crime prevention efforts. And it's not just crime prevention, it's also community building. And I just want to say a few things. In this past week, you've heard a lot of media reports, and actually people articulating. And people have come up to me and said, Brian, did you hear that news report? Someone was saying that they've actually noticed improvements in the neighborhood. And I don't know if you've heard that as well. It's difficult, though. And we've explained to some of the national media that may not understand Cleveland, may not understand a neighborhood such as Tremont, Clark, Fulton, Ohio City, neighborhood in a street like this. I just want to quickly go over that with you and then explain this community and community building and crime prevention efforts that are taking place today, that have been taking place for a long time. Of course, quickly, we had a terrible recessionary period of over 12 years. Financial crisis, foreclosure crisis. In 2010, when I actually was elected to the Clark, Fulton, Brooklyn Center area, Stockyards and Tremont area, our area had over 500 vacant and abandoned properties. 3 years ago, we began a very serious task of redoubling the city's efforts in inventorying all of those properties, ranking them from A, best condition, to D. To date, in 3 years, collectively, we've demolished the worst of the worst houses, those rated D, to the tune of approximately 160 homes in 3 years. In that same period, we've sold to private investors or other residents over 50 homes. So we're almost at the halfway mark, at least making a dent, but of course it's a moving target. And there are vacant properties on the street, as was mentioned. And my assistant, she was called out, I think, by David Johanna. I want to point her out. I want to thank her for all of her work this week. She's been fabulous. Johanna really helps lead my office with the local development offices in identifying. And just as they said about being diligent in holding accountable the police, we expect to be held accountable as public officials as well. So you need to be diligent. The volume and the aspects of our work are great, and we don't mind people, and we ask people to be persistent and to tell us and to remind us that this is still not taken care of. This house is open again. Some of these vacant homes that some of the people from out of town have seen, we've explained to them. Some of these homes have been reboarded 2, 3, 4 times in the last 3 to 4 years. And we'll go out and we'll continue to do it. I'm going to get to this issue, ma'am.
Hey, don't interrupt.
They're going to come back. We said we're going to deal with community and crime prevention, then we're going to go back to questions, ma'am. So what we have is we have an assembly of block clubs. We have over 40 block clubs in the communities of Tremont, Clark Fulton, Stockyards, and Brooklyn Center. Over 40 block clubs. These block clubs work very closely with the police division, with the health department, with building and housing, various agencies within the city. And if you're not involved in one of those groups, we recommend talking to the people in the back, in the front of the room, actually the back of the room, and they can assist you in giving you a list of those groups to participate in.
Talk about the housing inspectors who need to be out on the street.
Thank you, ma'am. If you have some comments, please come out because people have time to do it. In terms of the housing issue, we do work with building and housing. As I said, the development offices really serve as liaison agencies with the community and the building and housing department of the city of Cleveland. So we have really a prevention aspect where we try to ask the block clubs, what are the priorities for your street, for your 2 streets, for your 4 streets? Because we only have so much funds and so much resources available to demolish buildings. It's difficult to get properties out of foreclosure, out of the bank's hands, and get them into investors' hands. We are continuing to develop programs to provide homes for sale to residents. So if you're interested in that, you can talk to us later as well. Lastly, I just wanted to say a few words. There's the other initiatives. Someone mentioned cameras. You know the Scranton Road Library is temporarily closed and moved to Clark Avenue. We're planning to put, and trying to get it quickly, a camera from the City of Cleveland's Department of Police at the intersections, primary intersections of the neighborhood, primarily at Clark in Fulton, Clark and West 25th Street, and then Pearl Road and Denison in Fulton Road. So those are initiatives going on right now as well. There was a mention of lights. We work with both Cleveland Public Power as well as the school district. And if you have issues, we can discuss that as well. We've tracked probably thousands of lights that have gone out. The success rate has not been great at times it has been good. But we try to hold, again, the term accountability, try to hold the city's public power and the school district accountable for getting those lights replaced on a timely basis. So those are the basis of our community efforts, particularly the backbone, the block club. I do want to mention it because it's related to police. We have one of the most active community relations committees, and if whoever is part of that, please raise your hand. They meet basically the second Tuesday of every month. Next Tuesday, we are planning with the 2nd District to bring some of the social service agencies that are here this evening to that meeting on Tuesday. So if you'd like more information about that meeting, please feel free to talk to the people up at the front of the room as well. Thank you.
I think our best way to proceed now is if we could just acknowledge we will acknowledge the individuals who are here, and then we'll turn back over to questions and end with questions. So I wanted to acknowledge Mike O'Malley from the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. Did you want to say anything, Mike O'Malley? And then there's one more after that.
I'm going to be extremely brief. There's 2 things that can happen as a result of this tragedy. This community is torn apart, or this community comes together. And I believe in my heart that we will come together, we can get stronger, but it's going to take a diligence and vigilance of everybody in this room. Join your block clubs, watch for your neighbors, watch for your neighbors' children, and get on the horn and call the police. You got to watch out for each other. And the 2nd District will do their fine job as well. Thank you.
Acknowledge the U.S. Attorney's Office. Mike Tobin is here from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Nothing to say, Mike? All right. Thank you very much. Mike Sheline, would you like to say anything? Thank you.
Just
very quickly, again, I'm from the Crime Prevention at the Ohio Attorney General's office. Thank you for having us here in your community. Again, we're here for you, not only when things like this, where a lot of attention are brought forward, but every day in the process we do. And one thing we really need your help is that you let us know who you are, because a big part of what we're trying to do is more outreach and go outside of the usual organizations that we work with, even though they're very important. But we're all here, even after this meeting. If you want to let us know about your various organizations, your block watches, we're more than happy to come and tell you a little bit more about what we do and the services we can offer to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Make a statement before we proceed with the questions. I think what's important is that you get to know everybody's faces and names, and that this is just the beginning. The conversation will continue. We only have a limited time tonight, but this conversation can continue now because we know who all these individuals are who are here to support our community. All right, so we'll proceed with the next question. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Sharita Mitchell, and I don't have kids, but I have worked with so many kids in so many capacities, locally and nationally, and my heart always goes out. I am very, very active and involved with education. What I really wanted to say, many of our previous speakers have already said, it's okay to be diligent, it's okay to be persistent, it's okay to be vigilant, but this tragedy has undoubtedly united a nation, not just this community, but a nation. And so beauty has come out of this horrific ordeal. But what I really want to say tonight is to go back a little in the day, as we like to say when you're talking about going way back, and say what it's okay to be. It's okay to be nosy. Now we are in our Blackberries, in our iPods, in our iPhones, in our laptops, in our computers and PCs and games, and we don't see what's going on in front of us. I used to be scared to do certain, as a child, oh, my mom and dad don't see this, to do certain things in front of a certain house. You know you have nosy neighbors. We all need to go back to old school roots and be nosy. And when you see a trend or something different and it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. Sort of like if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So when we're united, let's remember, like the old adage, we are our brother's keeper. Now, switching gears, I just have one question for the officers, if it's okay. You'll certainly let me know if you can answer or not. There's been so many conflicting reports in the past where neighbors of Seymour Street have said they made phone calls in the past or they saw, naked girls with wigs and chains, etc. But then the officers have often stated and countered that and said there were only a couple of calls over the years. But then others say again, but yes, they did make phone calls. And in the past, officers had gone, knocked on the door, but no one was there, and so no answer. I'd like to know if you could address that, and if there is any, what is the protocol if you are disseminated to a resident and there's no answer? Do you quit or do you go back? Thank you. Okay, yeah, this investigation is underway. More will come out as it continues. Thank you. Okay.
The best thing for you to always do is call 911 or call 621-1234. When you call those numbers, it's logged in a computer, and then we have a log of the call. If you don't call those numbers, we cannot prove that anyone made the call, and we track it through those numbers, okay? So always call either 911 if it's an emergency or 621-1234. Leave an address, leave a phone number if you'd like, but once it's in the computer, we have a log of it and we can follow up on it, okay?
But I want to just add, because we deal with this in every block, and we have crime coordinators, safety coordinators that do this. Don't think that if anyone calls the police, don't think it's just one call and it's done. It's just a one-way call. In fact, if you call and it's late in the evening, you don't see someone, a police car arrive, there could be higher level activities that the police are responding to. They may not show up, you might go to bed. You wake up, you call my office, and you say, Councilman, they never showed up. I can call, you can call, anyone can call dispatch back a second, a third, a fourth time if necessary. You can ask for a dispatch supervisor, and you can confirm, when was my call closed? The second or third time you can call and ask them, what's the incident number? And you can track that. There is a system in place. We use it to track and identify problem properties. Our office uses it all the time. It's not to say that there couldn't possibly be human error, addresses possibly not been given correctly. There's always those possibilities, but there is a system, and I can tell you from my 7 years in council, it's an active system that is very accurate for us in determining the calls that are made with the appropriate information.
Hi, my name is Simone Johnson, and I am involved in a block club over in Wade Park, over here on the east side, and he is correct. They will, the officers and commanders, whoever you request, if you give them enough time, they do come out to your community. And one thing you guys need to know is there are grants available for your neighborhoods. You need to contact your councilman or your block club. They have grants for lights, cameras, and all of that. And if you don't use that money, it's just going to be lost. So contact your councilman and say, hey, I want to put a camera right up here that covers that. It is funds available somewhere. So that's one thing. Another thing that I wanted to say is, here we are, back-to-back, Cleveland, with a black eye, national, in a negative way. Now the world knows what we've been going through. I'm not blaming these officers because we don't know. All of us don't know. We don't even hear these little stories. But the only thing we can do is, here comes summer. What can we do for prevention? I have noticed the police, I timed it today. I saw a police car driving our neighborhood every half hour. You know, when the story goes dry and a new story comes, don't let this die. That's all I'm saying. You guys keep that same thing going. These kids are going to be out here. Enforce the curfew on them. Send them home to their parents when they out past curfew. Get them your butt. Another thing too, in conjunction, I don't know if you can do it with RTA, but maybe from 9 to dusk to dawn, they could ride half price on the bus or something so that they're not walking down the street. Because they said with Gina, she gave the girl her last 50 cents and she walked 30 blocks because she didn't have bus fare, and that's how he got her. Adam Walsh said that. I mean, so can we do like give an RTA where they can these kids to ride half price and free? The buses are half empty at night anyway. Something to keep them off the street. That's what I'm just saying.
Hello, my name is Doris. This is actually directed at Commander Salter. I actually live 2 doors from one of the brothers that was released. I had called you yesterday about the threat that was made. Okay, and she never got back. Just played phone tag and give me assignments. I'm wondering what is it that you're going to do that's going to protect me and the lady that's next to me?
All right, well, Dolores, I do know you have seen cars there. We have been checking with that address to make sure that there's no media gathered or there's any issues. Today, we put in radio a flag for that address. So if there's any calls for service there, the media tells them what the issues might be, so that the response is a little bit quicker and the officers understand what's going on. So your address, the address on Hyde, this address over at 2207 Seymour, and Gina's address all have flags on them to tell the dispatcher it's an important address to get a response a little quicker and inform the officers of the issue that they may confront. So, but call me back tomorrow when we get a call. I think I got your information on Facebook. Facebook, also Second District has a Facebook page, Second District Community Relations Committee. You can always ask questions on there. You can follow that and follow crime tips. And great work to the officers too.
We're going to take the last two questions and then we'll have the benediction and then we'll break for a vigil. The vigil is going to involve everyone leaving out either door. There's a table out there with candles and there'll be a brief ceremony and then we can all participate in the vigil. So that's two questions and then after Oman will do the benediction. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Henry Senyak. I'm a local Scranton Road lifetime resident here, about 3 blocks. I'm also the 10-year block up chair in that community, and I've done a lot of work in Tremont itself and many other neighborhoods. I first off want to say I'm very disappointed in the national media that has came out and starting to question the second district and the Cleveland police. I call them, I work with them on a weekly and daily basis, and I thought the culture right there is the best that we've ever had. And I think we need to commend them. Secondarily, there is issues, and I'm hoping that all these things that come out of this helps the city move forward better. There are issues with Cleveland Public Power when people call to try and turn in a street light that's out. Half the time or 2/3 of the time it hangs up on you. It's a $200,000 system. Come on, City of Cleveland, let's get it fixed and let's start fixing our street lights that are out there everywhere. As far as the Tremont, I'm a member of the Tremont Safety Committee. In full disclosure, I was past president, but we did $20,000 over 2 years ago, and it takes red tape with the city of Cleveland, though. But we are getting 2 cameras, one at Scranton and Clark and one at West 14th and Clark, that are $10,000 each, that are like down in downtown and have the flashing lights. So we'd love to have them everywhere, but it costs a lot of money. Brian is working to try to get some in farther west moving forward. But we need to get streetlights fixed, and we also have to put an opening on building and housing and making sure they're held accountable. Yes, these houses are boarded up, but if anybody understands, if you look at these, I've been down the street plenty of times with code enforcers, that this house that we're talking about is boarded up from the inside. The city doesn't board them up from the inside. That should have been a flag. The city comes out and boards them from the outside. So people need to recognize this and do things. But again, let's not blame the second district or the police and come up with wild ideas about people being chained, because you're deflecting what the issues are. Let's solve and work on the issues. Thank you.
My name is Chuck Coe. I'm with the neighborhood newspaper, The Plain Press. The question I have, and I don't see anyone here from Cleveland Municipal School District, but I'm wondering what the criterion is for their background check, and if they just do it when a person's employed, or if they have to go back periodically, because I understand that Ariel Castro had a history of domestic violence, and I'm wondering if that's anyone could respond to that as a criterion. Would you restrict somebody from being a bus driver if they had that kind of background? But maybe anybody can respond to that?
Unfortunately, I think in the rush to pull this meeting together, and we were in discussions with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, as I mentioned earlier, because we were aware of what the district was doing in terms of informing and providing potential services for students. So I have to apologize. I'll take the blame for it that we did not have the school district here. So I'm sorry for that. And we will, I think it's an excellent question. It actually does bring up when the issue came up about calls. It is something else that we're going to check, and I don't believe we have someone here either. It was reported, and I've not verified, and I don't know if the deputy chief or commander knows. There was also a comment that the sheriff's office potentially had visited the house several times above and beyond our calls that the police had. So these are some of the things that we're following up. But I think the bus and the qualifications or dequalifications for bus drivers is an extremely important question. And we'll make sure that we bring that up to the school district. Thank you.
We'll now take our final question.
It was stated earlier there's a number of block clubs. What I want to know is, as a community, how can we go about coordinating them? Because as individuals, we can't be at every block meeting, but there's only one city of Cleveland. We all have individual neighborhoods, but there's only one city of Cleveland. How can we all coordinate our efforts from one block party, whether it's on St. Clair, to one that's near the steel yard? Maybe even if it's electronic, how can we be, active within those block parties? That's my question.
Thank you. This is an excellent question. I was mentioning active block clubs earlier. There's fairly direct ways to do that. We have representatives for these neighborhoods in and around the street. We have representatives here that have the list and they have the knowledge of the block clubs that meet in these areas. As I said, there's actually 40 block clubs representing about 40,000+ people in these 3-4 neighborhood areas. In addition, every second Tuesday, the Jones on Applewood Centers, which is that big yellow brick building, beautiful old building by I-71 and West 25th Street. In the back gymnasium area, there's meetings every second Tuesday. The commander, his detectives, various people from the 2nd District are at that meeting. They have 40 to 50 people regularly show up at those meetings. If you attend those meetings, the commander and his staff, Lieutenant Fuller, I think, was here. He's the director of the community policing unit. They can plug you in to those block clubs as well. On that note, I will tell you, in recent years, we've been experimenting. We're looking at having all Spanish-speaking gatherings because we don't feel that we are getting enough participation from the Spanish-speaking community. Too often they will come to a meeting, they have to be translated on the side, we don't have headphones for all those meetings, and they feel that they're not really participating, so they don't come back. So we're always thinking of new ways to do that. And that brings me to really a final point, and I won't have any of the closing remarks, which is in planning this meeting and talking to community members, one word really stood out to us, and that's resilience. We don't use it in our vocabulary that much. But what it means is, if you don't go to a block club meeting, go to a school meeting. If you don't go to a school meeting, go to your church. If you don't go to your church, go to a social service center and get to know the people there. A resilient community has multiple opportunities for people to participate and engage. That's how community is built. We are trying to work with our local development offices, the police, the educational people, the nonprofit organizations. We have a very important work that we're doing with the Hispanic community. And I know the woman was very emotional earlier, said that she didn't want the Hispanic community injured by the fact that Ariel Castro, this monster, put such a black mark on his heritage as being a Puerto Rican. For those who don't know, this community is over 40% Hispanic. And we know a lot of old Germans, wise Germans, and many others from various countries. Our diversity is very rich. But this Hispanic community is extremely important. It has been important since the end of World War II. And they've really come together in recent years. We're hopefully going to unveil very soon, in the next month or so, something called La Via Hispana, centered at Clark Avenue, West 25th Street, not too far from here. So you're going to be hearing more about that. People are excited about that. We don't want these events that have taken place to mark or slow or impede our progress. And I'm asking you to join with us and work with us diligently in all of these sectors, as I said, for a resilient, strong community. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone who came here this evening. Thank you so much for all your show of support. All of our hearts are aching for these poor girls and the little child. Yeah. I'd like to thank the Attorney General's Office for being represented here today, the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Cleveland Police Department, and all of our victim advocates who are here to help deal with the victims and the victimization process, including neighborhoods. So please take advantage of these resources who are here from both Cleveland and Lorraine, right here in this corner. Randy Austrie, Managing Attorney with the Cleveland Regional Ohio Attorney General's Office. Mike DeWine will give some closing remarks, and then we'll turn it over to Pastor Omar Relina. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending. Again, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to serve you. I pledge on behalf of our Attorney General, Mike DeWine, and on behalf of Randy Austrie personally, in the city of Cleveland, who cares about this city so much and all of you so much, to work with you to continue to dispatch the team that we have of victims advocates, not only in Cuyahoga County, but statewide. And I pledge on behalf of the Attorney General to work with all law enforcement, to the Councilman Cummings. This is not the last time you're going to see us, but we're going to make ourselves available in the community as a personal pledge of mine to you and on behalf of our Attorney General, Mike DeWine. We have resources in the back table for you, numbers that our advocates have put together for any resources that the community will need. Call us, email us. Your councilman knows how to reach me. Everyone here on this dais knows how to reach me. We look forward to working with you. Again, my hat's off to you for your courage, and may God continue to bless this beautiful community. Thank you.
One last thank you. Someone who's been working really, really hard tonight is Dina Cepeda. She's been translating the whole event in Spanish.
As we close this meeting tonight, I want to say that, as it was stated, the eyes of the entire nation is upon us. We have an obligation to send them a message. We can choose to send them a negative message and say that we are a black eye, or we can choose to send them a positive message. And I am repeating the words of our commander when he said that this is a story of hope and perseverance. So the message that we should send the rest of the nation is, do not lose hope. Continue to dream, continue to hope. As impossible as the situation may seem, the Bible says there is nothing impossible for God, as we have seen. So continue to hope, continue to pray. I'm a man of faith. I'm alive today because of my faith and my hope in God. So as impossible as the situation may seem, continue to hope. That's the message that we should send to the rest of the nation, that in spite of everything that happened, this community is standing together as one, and we're not afraid to dream and to hope. Amen? So let us conclude. And I leave you with these words. As Jesus said, my peace I leave unto you. And this night, I leave the peace, the joy, the comfort of Jesus Christ. May His face shine upon each and every single one of you. May He comfort you, and may He lead us as we move forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now
proceed outside for the vigil, and don't forget to get your candles from the table. Thank you.
Yes, as you exit the hall, there's candles at a table right outside the entrance. Please give a candle, please.
Oh, sorry. Set out.
Well, I only know. There you go. Here you go. You're very welcome. Meeting of all the community.
We're at 3502 Library Avenue, and we have Daisy Cove Library. We're the Jones Home Historic area.
Hey, Danny. Getting us on video? Get here so fast. Up there?
Can I get up your attention? The vigil basically is going to consist of us basically solemnly walking over to the police line. Pastor Omar will say a few prayers, and then we'll conclude. The candles can be kept as mementos, and we really appreciate you coming out this evening. Por todos que hablan por español, la villa que se procede para allá, cerca de línea, con la policía, vamos a caminar por allá y recibir las palabras de la Pastor Omar. Y va a terminar